Welcome to the Ref Show. You may have noticed we're in a brand new You Are the Ref studio, new look studio, but a very old look panel.
It don't look new to me.
Keith Hackett, Mark Halsey, joining us on the programme. You know, when I listen to you guys and when I look at You Are the Ref's Ref Cam, the phrase keeps cropping up, we want no surprises. Last 20 minutes of this game, no surprises from the match officials. That's what we want in terms of decision making. Well, we got it on the field this weekend in the FA Cup. No surprises, very few surprises. You know, it really was a bit of a damp squib, but nevertheless, plenty of things for us to talk about. We will come to the Phil Jagielka, Martin Atkinson affair in a little while. But first of all, just a weekend assessment, Keith, in the FA Cup. Do you think referees did okay generally?
You're talking to a Sheffield Wednesday fan.
That's the one shot.
All you Wednesdayites out there, listen to this.
And I like Tierney as a referee, and in fact, I think he will eventually get to the Premier League, but not if he doesn't give penalty kicks when there's an absolute nailed-on climbing, pushing, holding. It satisfied everything.
This is Paul Tierney, the referee. It was Whitbread all over Atinuhu, wasn't it?
Correct.
At 2-2, Keith lays on.
What Keith's saying is absolutely right. When you look, you know, if we're looking from a learning point, we look at where the referee is and his positioning. He's in an absolutely ideal position to see that offence, and it's as clear as day. And I've seen Paul a few times this season, and the thing I've got about him is that he seems to be afraid to make the big decision. You've got to be brave and make that big decision. You know, watch Mike Dean. Mike Dean, he's not afraid. Mark Clattenburg, they're not afraid to make big game-changing decisions, and they get them right. And you're going on to about, you know, it was good for the referees this weekend. Yeah, it was, I should say. But the intensity is not there in the FA Cup as it is in the Premier League, and we're getting to the business end of the season now, you know, so I think the intensity is not there.
There was a fair bit of intensity late on in that Shrewsbury-Sheffield Wednesday tie, and you talk about game-changing. Shrewsbury went up and got a late winner. It could have been 3-2 to Wednesday, and that was the one, and they lost 3-2. That was the one real big shock.
Well, I think there were a lot of talking points out of that. I mean, first of all, there was the comments about the added time, 7 minutes. Where did he get it from? And I question, where did he get it from? Of course, you can't question the referee because he's the sole timekeeper. Yeah. That's the law. What I will question is, here is another example of why the game needs independent timekeepers. Then there's the other aspect of the inconsistency through the FA Cup with a lack of goal line technology. Because at Premier League clubs, they've got it, and at Football League Championship Division 1 and 2, they've not got it. And that, for me, is a shortfall in the competition and can lead to inconsistencies in the decision-making process.
But that's interesting because then they use it for the FA Cup final.
Correct.
Yeah, that is an inconsistency.
So it is an inconsistency. Well, if you're going to use it for the FA Cup final, well, why are we not using it all through the competition?
But you'd have to put it in at Rochdale or at Gig Lane, where I was at Bury.
It's not going to cost a lot of money. They've got the money. The money's there. The money's there. Now,
I mean, you're absolutely right. They spend millions on players, and here, what needs to happen is those finances that come in need to cascade down, and every game at professional level in the English game should have goal line technology.
Because the game's just as big in the League Two as what it is in the Premier League.
Don't think any real football fan would disagree with that. Go back to the very start of the FA Cup weekend. This was Derby County at home to Manchester United. Great 3-1 win for United. I'll mention about the offside nature of two of the goals. But first of all, you raised something in conversation with me. Anthony Taylor was refereeing this. Now, he's from the Manchester area, Altrincham. No questioning Anthony's integrity whatsoever. But you said to me you found it strange in the light of the fact that in 2006, I'm going back, Mike Dean as a Wirral official was dropped or taken off the FA Cup final itself when Liverpool got through to face West Ham. So you think there's a bit of inconsistency?
Yeah, I do. I mean, they made the decision unprecedented position to appoint Mike Dean before the semi-finals had taken place. Yeah. And obviously with Liverpool there, and Mike living in the Wirral, you know, it's some distance from Liverpool. where he lived. He's a Tranmere Rovers fan, season ticket holder, and they took him off that cup final. Now, Anthony Taylor, for me, he lives a couple of miles from Old Trafford, and he's refereeing Man United. But also, not only that, is that Mike Dean, who's a fabulous referee, and most probably, in my opinion, second to Clatts on the Premier League. He's living in North Wales, yet they never appoint him to referee a Liverpool or Everton game. Now, you want your best referees refereeing these teams.
Well, what about Clattenburg? Clattenburg, Newcastle, Sunderland. Could we have him? I mean, look, going back, I know he lives in Newcastle, but this is exactly the same argument he's using for Anthony Taylor. But you know, David Ellery had a cup final involving a London club.
And he's
lived in Harrow.
Harrow, yeah.
There's complete inconsistency.
It's a real grey area, isn't it?
It is, and all I'm saying is, if they're going to do it for Anthony Taylor, appoint him to Manchester games, okay, fine. Well, let's appoint one of our best referees who lives in North Wales to referee Liverpool or Everton. Yeah. You know, these clubs want the best referees, and yet they're not appointing Mike Dean to these games because of where he lives.
Geography shouldn't matter.
Well, it's interesting because I had an email from a Portsmouth fan, a real strong Portsmouth fan, and I get regular emails from him. He's an ex-policeman. Yeah. He's really got a unbiased view on football. And when he found out that Mike Dean was refereeing the Portsmouth-Bournemouth game, we've got a great referee coming, was his comment.
Absolutely.
And everybody knows that what they're going to get from Mike Dean is players have got to behave themselves because he's missed the consistency right through whatever competition, whatever game he's refereeing. If that law, I saw a challenge and I'm thinking, that's yellow card, and out he came.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't let you down.
Just mentioning that game again, first Manchester United goal and third one, when you looked at the replays, marginal offside. Now, a stickler would say they should have been disallowed. I mean, there were great goals. Now, where do you two stand on that? Are you saying that you're blaming the linesman? Or
no, I think there's a human element here that actually, and this is the difficulty you have with television. And television doesn't always give you the best view. You can draw lines across a pitch, but it can still be inaccuracies in angle. We have always, if you like, educated assistant referees to say, if there's any doubt, don't scrub off a goal. And I think there's an element of area of doubt on both of those, sufficient for the assistant referee to go, carry on.
Yeah, benefit of doubt to the attacker. I mean, if you look at the offside that John Terry got, Chelsea-Everton with John Terry's third goal, totally different to that scenario. And Mike Malarkey at Swansea and Sunderland, totally different to that scenario to those. And for me, they are very difficult and correct to award the goal.
You're saying it's tight and difficult. So are so many of these handball calls these days. Now, let's go to Liverpool, West Ham. Martin Atkinson was in charge here. There was a widespread belief in the media that Hammers should have had a penalty. Certainly their manager thought so in one of those handball instances. Now, what do you think on that?
Listen, Martin's come under a lot of stick and scrutiny this week, obviously with the Man City and Everton game at the Etihad, which I was there. And I have to say, I'm going to support Martin here because I think that is so difficult. There's so many bodies around. He's in a good position. And yes, his arm's in a natural position. Yes, it hits his arm. It's flicked on. It hits his arm. And what's he going to do? Where can he put his arm? What can he do?
Well, I think that when he hit him and it did strike him and he did that, that's where this is where the law has the anomaly, because in fact what it says is if there's movement towards,
which there was,
or in terms of practice,
that'd after it hit him.
Movement, it hit him.
Yeah.
But then what he did was he did that.
So it's a handball for you, is it?
Well, for me, it's a handball, but I also recognise where Mark's coming from in that Atkinson, I don't think had a prayer of actually seeing that at all, and neither did the assistant referee. I think the question should have been is, what would, if you had a video referee, what would he have done? And I think this whole, if you like, use of video referee would clarify some of these areas.
But even that would have taken some debate and time, would it not? Well, because you're in one camp and you're sort of slightly in another on interpretation.
That's the law.
Shows how difficult those calls are.
Look, handball, you can spend half an hour to an hour discussing the actual format of handball when they happen, and what is a natural position, what's unnatural, did it hit or was it deliberate? And the whole aspect is, on handball, is it deliberate? And I think Mark is right when he questions, through his vision and his experience, was it deliberate? And that's the key.
That's right. I mean, yes, his arm's in a natural position. It hits his arm, and then what's he supposed to do with his arm there? You can't not move your arm because you're in that motion. You know, you're in that forward motion. It's different if you're standing there and you go and you.
I think the player knew what he was doing.
You know,
so we go on.
I've got to say, I'm sticking up for Martin here.
It's a great debate. It's a great debate. Join us for Ref Show Part 2, and again we'll talk about Martin Atkinson and that jibe from Phil Jagielka. That's part of our discussion in Part 2. See you for that.